Okay, so this is going to be making the tunnel book pages and the concertina piece. So we're going to be making this part of the book. So just this part, we'll be making the case and all of the covering here separately. So we're just going to be making this, the tunnel book itself, like the pages. So the first thing that you need to do, these are all the pages waiting to get processed, I guess. And then this is the concertina pages. So the first thing we've got to do is fold this into the concertina. So that's just an accordion fold. So we're going to just start by taking one piece and folding the short edges together. So we're just going to keep folding this in half into little 1-inch increments is what we're going to end up with. So we're going to have 16 of those, but then we're going to trim it down. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So I folded it in half, and then I'm going to take that half and fold that in half. And then I'm going to take that half and fold that one in half. And then I'm going to take that last flap and fold that in half. So that one's a little bit hard to do, so I have to kind of pull it into position. And this is the size of the concertina, is this little 1-inch strip like that. So now we've got to go back through and fold all of those sections in half. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side so you can see that again. Kind of unfold that. So this is the other half, and I'm going to fold that in half. And I am taking my time trying to line it up even. And you can't just fold the whole contraption, you know, in half, because it won't be correct, because the thickness of the paper will cause a problem and it'll get too big. The fold won't be tight enough, so you can't do it that way. All right, so that's in half, and then and this is more for demonstration purposes, so that you understand what we're doing. So that's the half and half, and then this last fold. So that's what we're going to end up with, is a bunch of little panels like this. So now you got to figure out, well, how do I fold these little single pieces in half? So what I usually do is I'll start on one side. So I'll take this fold and put it into that one. And then really what I'm folding is underneath. But that helps guide me. So actually what I'm pushing down is underneath there. So that's the fold I just made here. And then I'll just kind of keep going around and taking those folded edges into the ones in front of them or behind them. And then again, what I'm folding is underneath. So if I pull all that back, you can see that's the fold I just made, but it's underneath. But I'm using the fold I already did to direct me. So now I'll go this way. So I'm taking this fold into that fold. And again, the folding is actually happening underneath the piece there. And then the last one I've got to do is to bring this fold into that one. That side's done. And then I can reverse the folds if needed. So right now I'm just trying to crimp it, trying to fold it, and then I'll go back through and make sure they're in the right direction. So I'm not worrying about that right now. I'm just trying to make these folds clean and make sure that I'm making only one fold at a time. Don't try to double them up, because I'm telling you, it won't look right and you'll have a problem later. So don't do that. And you can fold in whatever direction. You can flip it over and fold in that direction if you want to. whatever feels the best and is what you think you need to do, that's fine. Just don't fold a double thickness. That's the key. Almost done. This way. Okay. Like that. And so now I need to just go through and fold it in a zigzag. So now I'm just going through, and sometimes I'm having to reverse the fold. So I'm taking my time to do that. Each one, just one at a time. Because I really want to make sure that it's straight here at the fold line. And so if I have to kind of shimmy them down a little bit, I'll do that. This is when I would do that. Then I might get to a couple that are lined up correctly. And again, I'm just trying to watch it right here to make sure that it's straight. You guys can see that. And I'm trying to do the best I can. Again, as always, you take your time, you're going to be all right. If you try to rush it, that's when it can get way, way off. One fold at a time. Oh, right in my eye. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm kind of getting to a little section that they're all already in the right direction, but I'm still going to check, try to make sure they're straight. Is it perfect? No. Is it close? Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Okay, so that's the concertina, like this. So you should have 16 1-inch increments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I got to do the other one too, but before I do that, the thing that we're going to end up doing, because I'm just going to show that one and then I'll do the other one off camera. But what we're going to do to both of them is after you fold the 16, you're going to cut this to 12. So you're going to cut off 4 folds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to cut it right here. So I can kind of push this down, put my ruler in, and then I'm going to cut off 4 folds so that I only have 12. Okay, like that. So those are gone. This is what we're going to have. And you're going to have 2 of those that have 12 folds. Okay. All right. So I'll do the other one off camera and then we'll move on to the next bit. Right. Okay. So now I've got both of these concertinas ready. They're both cut to the 12 size and they're ready to go. So I'm actually just going to set them to the side. I did try to make sure that they're folded in the same direction. And what I mean by that, on this piece of paper that I have, there's a smooth side and a rough side. So I wanted to make sure that they're both going the same direction so that when I put them together, they're going to face each other like that. So these flat sides here the cut edges are facing each other. I wanted to make sure that the texture paper was on the outside of that. I could also do it the other way and reverse it so that the smooth side, but I'd have to reverse the fold because this is the way that the concertina goes together. and the pages sit in here. But that's just a small thing, but I did want to point it out because you guys might have that too, where you have a texture on your paper. All right, so those I'm going to set to the side. All right, so now we've got to prepare the tunnel book itself. So I'm going to do, for mine, I'm just going to do something really simple because I am actually going to show the cutting of the shapes. So I'm not going to do anything as complicated that like I did last year, because I did one in class and then I did one, you know, because we were face to face. I did one in class and then I did one again to make a video for it. And when I'm in class, I just prefer to do something more simple. It's faster. And really, I'm just wanting you guys to understand what needs to happen technically is that it starts large and then goes back like a lens or like an aperture in a camera. It's just, it gets incrementally smaller and then the last panel doesn't get cut. So I'm just going to do that with circles today, and I'm actually going to just do it here and then so you can see. And I'm going to put mine together like this. So this is going to be my last panel and this is going to be my first panel. And to, you know, again, this is getting too detailed, but you want to think about, because you guys are going to do one that, you know, you really are thinking about all the choices that you make. Think about the colors that you've got on your decorative paper and how that might play with, you know, what you're doing with the order of the pages and whatever. So think about all that stuff as your book, as a completed piece before it is completed, and you're trying to visualize that. It's sort of like the type of thing where, well, I would say book arts is this way. You have to make something to understand what it's going to be. It's very difficult to visualize the final product without making mock-ups, for sure. That's kind of not possible. I mean, you might have an idea of what it's going to look like, but you won't know until you make one. And that's going to be, but just think about, this is like more of a design composition thing. Like think about those things. Think about the color and your color palette and how much of what it's going to show and all that kind of stuff. But again, you won't know everything until you actually do one. Then you'll understand better how to plan. So these pages don't stay like this. We're actually going to cut a couple down, and then we're going to fold some of them to a smaller size so that we can then put it together. So let me show you in the example. So the first and the last panel, so all of these are 7 by 5.5 inches. The first and the last panel are going to get cut to 6 inches wide. So I'm going to do that now, and because there's nothing on them right now, I can just go ahead and cut them to 6 inches. So I'm going to cut those, and then the rest of them are going to get folded to 6 inches wide, but they're going to get folded on the sides. And if you can see in there, you can see the little fold, a 1/2 inch fold on each side on the center 4. So the last one in the front, the first one, get cut to 6 inches. So I'm going to do that. And sometimes I will number them like on the back. Just flip it over. And again, this is, I think I'm trying to make sure all of that texture is facing forward, because that's technically the front of the paper. Sometimes it's hard to see. It's hard to tell which is which. Sometimes you can really see it. Yeah, these are all facing forward right now. So this is the first one, and I'll just give it a light. Number 1, just in the lower right corner. 2, and I'm writing on the back. 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is one of the ones I can't tell for sure if that's the front or the back. This one I just wrote on the back. This one I think I didn't flip it over. This is 5, and that's 6. Okay. So the first one, number 1 and number 6 are going to get cut to 6 inches. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm just going to use my cutting mat to cut that 6 inches. So I just got to cut off 1 inch here. And to put this tunnel book together, you are going to need your double-sided tape. So have that handy, because when we get to that point of putting it together, we're going to do that. So that's 1, and I can move this out of the way. And then 6. These are getting cut to 6 inches. Okay, so that's 1 and 6. And then these central 4, I'm going to fold to 6 inches by scoring a 1/2 inch on each side. So the way to do that is you're going to do it on the back, I think, is to make your marks on the back. And you could do it here. You could just use your mat, or you can use your ruler and just make little 1/2 inch tick marks. I think I'm going to do it this way. I don't know. I just feel like it can be very inconsistent to use the mat. And this actually needs to be pretty precise. I think it helps when you're folding the book and you're putting it together. I think it helps if everything is pretty consistent, because there's a lot of things that can just get off from the folded paper. And let's let this not be one of them. So I'm just going to go through and make my little increments all the way through. So that's number 2. And I'll just turn them over one by one, and I'm just making the marks right now, and then I'll go through and I'll use my awl to score them. And I'll show you how to do all of that. So for some of this stuff, I'm just going to leave it rolling, leave the camera instead of going off. You can always forward through this. If you get what you need to do, you don't need to watch me do it. That's fine. But there's also something kind of calming about just doing this together. So maybe we need that. My husband was like listening. He was in his office and he could hear me when I was doing a recording the other day. And he was like, "You got a real Bob Ross thing going in there." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's the best." I love that idea that I could be as soothing as he is. That's fantastic news. So if that's the way it makes you feel, I'm happy about that. Glad. Yeah, I hope it works, and I hope it feels that way. So 1/2 inch, almost to the last one. And like I said, this is on the back of the sheet, so you won't be able to see this. Okay, so now I'll go in the other direction and just start with this one. And I'm going to use my ruler, and I need my awl. So this is the tool I'm going to use, and I will line up these lines. Now I can't poke into it because I don't want to have a hole there. I'm going to flip my ruler over because, again, I can't. Sometimes I just can't line it up with that cork. So you want to try to be as consistent as possible while you're lining things up. And I mean, like, if you're going to let your pencil mark show, then let it show every time. If you're going to get right on top of your pencil mark, then that needs to be the way that you do it every time. So I actually kind of try to get in the middle of my mark so that I can sort of see it, but I'm covering up a little bit of it. That's my way of doing that. Okay, so there's 5. This is 4. So I can see part of the mark. You guys probably can't see that detail. This is like truly your own eye. Just a couple of passes with the awl. Okay, number 4. This is number 3. Oh, the one that's hard to see. Sorry, I can see him a little bit. And then I'm just rotating because I'm right-handed so that everything's on my right when I'm working. Just a couple of passes. And I'm trying not to use the very tip of the awl like this straight up and down. I'm like laying it down, pulling like that. That's 3. And this is 2. So this is the last one that I'm going to score. And then we're going to fold, start making our cuts. Lost, I was looking at, there it goes. Okay. All right, so now these are going to get folded in because this is the inside where we made those marks. So you're going to fold those flaps inside like this. So this is number 2. So this is our number 1. And I'll go stack them up. 1, 2. This is 3. So these get folded in. And this is 4. And I'm just stacking them up to the side, like from front to back. This is 5. That. And then this is 6 in the back, so that's the last one. This is another one where I think I might have written on the wrong side. Yeah, I think I did. Sometimes it's hard to see which, and then you pick it up and go, no, this is the back. Yeah, this is the back, pretty sure, 6. Okay, you haven't made any cuts, it's all right. Okay, so that's how they're gonna go. This is gonna be my first. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is gonna get pasted down. Okay, so now I need to make my cuts. All right, so when you think about this, you need to think about, this is the tunnel. So the way this is going to go is this very front one is going to be in the very front. It's actually going to cover those 2 panels. The interior is going to be in the very back. I'm not positioning this well, but that's going to go down like that. But that's going to get all glued down. So it does sit inside like this, but it gets glued down. And then the other ones are going to be in there like that, okay? But that front one, you need to think about the fact that this could show. And the last one's not going to get cut at all. Otherwise, you would be able to see the board underneath. So this does not get cut. So number 6 can just kind of stay over to the side. We don't need to worry about it. But that front one, what you need to think about is the fact that when you cut something, you could accidentally see the tunnel. And I think I had, not the tunnel, but the concertina. And you may not like that. So I think I had an example of that here. Yeah. So you just don't want to get very wide out here because, I mean, it's not the end of the world. And when the tunnel is displayed, you know, when this kind of isn't folded so tight, you sort of don't see it. So, you know, if you accidentally cut too wide, don't beat yourself up about it. But this needs to be at least 1 inch wide because that's the size of our concertina. People have asked me in the past, can I make a smaller concertina? And I think, yes, you can. You could probably make like a 1/2 inch one. But to learn how to do this, I think it's better to have like a little bit more surface and it's a little bit more stability. But just, I'm talking about this only just so you're aware of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a 4-inch circle here, and that's as big as it's going to be for this first one because I'm thinking about, I don't want that to show. So for this first one, I'm actually going to just, I could, again, use the mat, and I do this a lot. to find my center point. I just want to make a cut here. I mean, a line. So it's 6 inches wide. So move my pieces back out of my way for a minute. Oops. That's the only problem with doing it this way. If you shuffle it around and you don't realize, you can get off center there. Okay, so and then the center this way, it's 5.5. So it's 2 3/4. 1, 2 3/4 is the center, I believe. Yeah, 2 3/4. So I could find that. It's a little bit tricky. 2 3/4, 2 3/4. And I'm just trying to make a center point for the circle that I'm going to cut. So I just need that mark. And now I can set my circle cutter to 2 inches because that's the radius. So I'll just set it and pull the blade out to 2 and then tighten that, tighten it down. And then I should be able to cut that. And I'm cutting from the back really for no reason other than I made my mark back here. If I'd made it on the front, I could probably just erase it off. Okay, so that's number 1. I'll just put that over to the side. Number 2, I'm just going to make my circle a little smaller. So this is what I use a lot to collage with on the cover or on the end sheet. I'll just hold on to these pieces. So I'll make it a little bit smaller. Now, how much smaller do I want it? Let me think about that. Just not a whole lot. I've got to cut 3 more pages. So I want to be able to get back, but without having just a tiny piece at the end. So I'm just using the circle to figure out how small. And so I just put the center point in and then I just moved it in just a tiny bit. It's like maybe a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch smaller. And that's what I'm going to cut for this one. So, but I still have to find, now this one's harder because I have these flaps. So I actually have to kind of open that up, put this down, and I'm actually going to put it on those fold lines at the 6 inch so I can find my center. I could, oh, this is good. I could do this. I could put this in. Oh my gosh, this is too great, but I could put this in like this and then transfer my little point, just a little bit like that. And that's my center point. So if you do that, if you do a circle and you get it right in the center, you can transfer to the next one. That's so nice. I'll do it again though, just so you can see the process of, well, you can see it again. So if you need to see me measure again, go back to that first one. But again, what I did is I just put that other one on it, put the circle back in place, and then I just use this to transfer the little dot. So, you know, that's what I'm doing for that. And you guys might do something more intricate because you have time and you're not trying to teach kind of how it goes. So you can do what you want to do. You can cut freeform shapes, even in the first one that you make along with the video. Well, you're going to make both of them probably with the video, which I don't blame you, and you should. I would. Because it's hard to retain. That's one of the greatest things about this online universe is that you can continue to learn from it. It's not a one-time, you got to retain information. You can, you know, keep referring back to it, and that's really helpful. Okay, so now I'm going to make one a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to use my circle to set it and then bring it in. A little bit smaller. It's about, it's maybe, that really is like a 1/4 inch. So if I did 3/8, maybe I'll try to do about that here too. I don't want to get so small that I can't make that last one though. That's what I'm worried about. Okay, so now I can take this next one, lay this one in here. Lay the circle back in, and all I'm doing is taking my awl and just making a little dot. I'm trying not to poke too hard because I don't want it to be too big for the compass. And then I already changed it, so I'm ready to go. Kind of pulling a little bit right there. I kind of made a little bit of mistake. See if I can clean that up. I pulled in a little bit as I was finishing. You don't want to pull that when you're, you know, it's easy to do that, kind of start pulling towards the center, and that can get you off center there. Okay, next one. And this is technically what you're going to be doing no matter what your shape is you're going to keep getting smaller as you go back. So the biggest window is going to be at the very front. And sometimes people will do things like from the outside in and in. So that's another, I'll show you examples of different things. So you'll see some different things that people have done. But for learning it and for having something to refer to, I think it's a smart, oh gosh, I forgot. Almost cut the same size. It's nice to have something that's simple to just kind of see. Just trying to pull straight instead of in. A little hard, you know, once you get towards the end there, it just wants to kick in just a tiny bit. Okay, last one. And I don't have much room, so I'm gonna do something that you can do with these, and it is you can rotate this piece, and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. Take it apart. So you take off that, take the little screw out, and you can take this off and flip it the other way. That way you can get a little bit closer because this distance is being held back. So I'll put that back together. And oops, wrong side. This is set so that goes into the little inset a little bit. And then this goes back on. No problem. And this also allows you to make a bigger circle. The other way I had it allows you to make a larger circle. So you can flip that thing back and forth if needed, but this is my smallest one, so I need to make one a little bit smaller than that. So I will set this last one like this. And then I gotta do my transfer. Okay, last one. I mean, I kind of find it hard to cut the small ones because there's just it's not much surface. It's like, you got to get it right. So I can stack these up to kind of just check. That's it right there. And then this is going to be the back, is this green, solid green, like that. Okay. So that's really the idea. And that's just the most straightforward thing that you can do, is do a circle, a square, a diamond, something like that. And I'll show you some different, like I said, some different examples of things that people have done. So now we're going to put this together, and I'm just going to stack these up and I'll save them because sometimes I do stuff with for the cover. So now we've got to put the double-sided tape on these pieces. So all of the pieces are going to get double-sided tape. So the first one is just going to get flipped over and put that tape in two little lines down the side like that. And then what I usually do is just take my X-Acto and just snap it, just kind of cut, use the blade edge to cut. And then the other one like that, boom. And then I'll just keep it face down. And now on these, what I actually have to do is I need to put tape on these folds. So I can do it back here if I want, or you can lay them out flat and do it out here. Whatever feels comfortable. I don't know why, but I prefer to do it like this. I just feel like I know what I'm doing better or something if I do it like this. If you don't like that, you can just lay it flat, and I can demo that too. But I don't know why, this just feels more comfortable to me to do it like that. I don't know. Once you do it some way, it's kind of, that's how you do it. I'll just rotate it because it's like I like to hold that flap down and then just kind of walk it down like this. And you can see my tape is basically the same width. It's a little bit skinnier. So if I did it from the front, it's like this. This is where the pieces go. Don't put it inside the fold. Do not put it inside the fold. It's on the outside of this piece of paper, the outside of the flaps. Okay, so like that. And then if you want to do it this way, I think what it is I can't see that edge very well with the fold. I don't know. It's just me, I guess, but that doesn't feel as, it's fine. It's fine. I just feel like I can't see it as well or something. And like I might put it on crooked. I'm not sure that matters all that much. So whatever feels most comfortable for you is how you should do it. But just make sure you're putting it on the right spot, the right part. Like that, just kind of go through the whole stack and put those on. I'll just do it this way. And I'm just trying to get it pretty centered in that space. You know, there's not really any secret to it. Now I feel like this is more comfortable. I don't know, but I think I've always done it the other way. Either way, perfectly fine. And then this last one, want to make sure you put it on the back. I keep second guessing myself about this. Yeah, this is the back. And then it just goes down the side just like on the first one. And this is just to attach it to the concertina, to the folded accordion. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pause the video and kind of get myself together and then come back and put it together so I can get my pieces in order, and then I can come back and show you that. So I'm going to pause for a moment and come back. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to put this together. So I took my entire, this is my concertinas. I'm trying something with a cut down the center here. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just wanted to do something that I hadn't done before. So I'm trying that. You can try it if you want. It may not work. So I mean, I literally don't know, but I'm going to do it. So I took my whole stack of circles and the back piece, like this, and I'm just going to stack them away from me face down, so that, because I'm starting in the back when I put this thing together. So the way it's going to go is, so I was talking about how this last flap with the cut edge, those two cut edges need to face each other. And then we're going to lay this whole thing down like this. And we're going to be putting these together from that back piece forward. Okay, so that's why I stacked them, so that the last one is on the top, because that's what I'm starting with. All right, so this is my last, the piece that's going to get pasted down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel off the double stick tape on one side, and then I'm going to put this in place into the fold of that last flap on one of the concertinas, whichever side you feel like starting with. I just usually start with the left. And I'm just going to put that in place. And I'm making sure it's centered head and tail as well, so that it's flush. And then stick that down. And again, I'm not pushing super hard, just in case I do need to go back and correct it somehow. And then on this side, I will peel this one and then take the concertina, oops, and put this side in place as well. So it is a little sticky, and I need to maybe pick it up a little bit so that I can get it into the fold without it sticking. And then drop it down like that. Okay, so the first one is done. That's attached. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close in one fold like that. And now this next one is going to get positioned in to this fold. So this is how it looks. I'm folding in one fold like that. And that's where I'm going to attach the next one. So this is my number 5. And I'm going to, so this is going to stay folded. So make sure that these are folded when you're going to put them in, okay? So maybe that's another reason I put the tape on the way that I like to, like this, because that is how it's going to go in, is folded. So what this allows, and let me just take a second, back up, so you can see, this is what allows for the tunnel effect, is that little fold in the fold holds these out a little bit and gives it the springiness. Because if these were just attached right in to the inside, it would be a lot flatter and it wouldn't have as much kind of the springiness, I think. So I think that's the purpose of that. It's not, I'm not some tunnel book expert. I'm not by any stretch. These are basically the only tunnel books I've ever made. And there's a lot of different techniques for doing it. Some people don't like this one, you know, so just know that there's a big world of tunnel books out there, and this is just the beginning of it. So again, folded, I'm going to peel the left side. And of course, if I had content where it was reading or something, I would want to make sure that the images or the text is in the right direction. So, but in this case, it's just blank. So I folded that one fold in, and now I'm going to put this in place. So this is hard to do. And so usually I'll kind of use the fold again to guide me. And then once I get it in, I just drop it down like that. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. So this is the trickiness of the book, is that it can get ripply at the top if things aren't even. So, I mean, you got to try to keep everything balanced. You want to avoid that rippling, but you also want to get it in the right space. And, you know, so it's a balance to be struck. And I don't have a lot of advice, because every book is different. And you just try to do your best as far as putting it together and trying to keep everything flat. But you don't, I don't know. You just be aware of it. That's all I can tell you. So that's usually what I do, is try to push down on everything as I go. Okay, so that's the second one. So we've got the first and the second, or 6 and 5 are done. So now I lay that down again, and I'm going to fold the next section in. And that's a little bit weird to do. Oops, I think I might have gotten that off. It's a little bit low on that side. So I could, before I go, I could take a second because this isn't bone folded down. See how I can just peel that up? I'm going to put it down again because it was not even head and tail. So I'm going to try to straighten that up a little bit. Yeah, I think I got it a little bit better there. Okay. So you have time to straighten if you need to. You can, that tape, I've talked about this before, that it kind of cures over time. It gets stickier. So you have a little while, but you don't, if you bone fold it, you're probably not going to be able to get it up again. Also, this is the first one you've ever made, so maybe don't worry too much about it. Don't panic. And we're using double-sided tape instead of glue, so we don't have that drying time. It's easier to work with in that way. So I peel. I folded in the next fold. So that was the finished. So I fold in the next fold. Trying to center it, head and tail, trying to do everything. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, with this idea of doing this little cut, it makes it a little bit hard because this can get wobbly. I mean, it's pretty stable. It's not bad, but I could say that could get a little uneven. So maybe don't do it on the first one that you make. But, if you feel like you can control it, go ahead. But, I'm doing something funky just to try, because I'm interested in the structure always. And so I want to try stuff sometimes. It's almost like I'm just testing it too to make sure that stuff's in the right position. These feel flat, and so that's almost in a way what I'm doing is testing that I can flatten it down. It's not rippling, and I feel good about it. So even if it's a little bit off in the fold right here, I'm not worrying about that as much as I would like it to just be flat. Because let me show you an example. This is one that's very flat and it looks nice. And then there's another one here that I noticed that is not flat. It's not great, I don't like, and it also could be though, let me just point this out, that this is paste paper. And so paste paper gets wet and it gets ripply like this. And this one, so like this one's not that curved, this one is, and I wonder if it's just this one's done with stamps. So I don't know. I've noticed this phenomenon though, that sometimes it'll be too tight. So something was off, and when it got put together, it's kind of pressed on the side. So that's what I'm trying to avoid, because I prefer this. And this isn't some detail that people are really going to take note of, but I do. And so I'm conscious of that. And so I'm trying to make sure that doesn't happen, but who knows? In the end, it still might. Okay, next one. Sorry, I'm kind of getting distracted. Peel this, fold the next section. Next fold in like this. This one down. Make sure you fold it, because if you don't, I don't know what would happen. Wouldn't be good though, because it would stick to the one below, which I guess technically could be happening. I don't think it is though, because I think the two folds is keeping it up. So I'm kind of checking that as I go along, because I know this issue can happen. Almost to the beginning, almost to the front here. Two more to do. Oh, why did I do that? I peeled both sides at the same time. Not a good idea because that could have stuck, but it didn't, luckily. I don't know why I did that. You know, that one doesn't feel right, so I'm gonna take it off. Try to. This one's wanting to ripple, I can feel it. I'm gonna take it up again because it's still rippling. I don't like that. So I'm gonna try to see if I can kind of let it fall where it wants to fall and see if that helps. Oh, I think it was a little bit twisted right here. All right, well, I'll let it just do that to try to keep the rippling away. Even if it's not right into the fold, I would rather it just not ripple because it's slightly off, but that's okay. Okay, so then we're at the last. Let's see how this looks. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Cut. The last fold is a little bit different because you're going to fold in and you're actually going to put that last panel on the very front of the book. So you're going to collapse everything else down. See, that one's still being picky. I have to fix it. If I'm going to fix it, I have to fix it now because if I try to fix it later, I can't. Like, I can't get back in there. Okay. It's still being a little bit ripply, but I may just have to live with that. Okay, so the last fold is just slightly different. It's not going in here. It's going to go on the very front. But when it's done, it looks fine. You don't really notice. It looks fine. It's just that it's attached to the very front panel. So this last one. Just peel one side at a time. Guess I was just getting ahead of myself there. And then I do want it to be pretty flush to the edge of that fold. And then peel the other side and do it. Okay, so that's it. That's your tunnel book. A little bit of ripple, but not bad. That's not bad. All right, so just take your time putting it together. Peel one side at a time, put one down, and then try to walk it over, kind of smooth it down as you go across, and let it fall where it's going to fall. If you start with the back and you try to do it as straight as possible, you should be able to get pretty straight by the time you get to the end. Okay, so that's your tunnel book pages ready. Now we're going to make the case, and then we're going to case this in to the case. So there's going to be at least a couple more videos and then a video of the tunnel book examples, our samples that I'm going to show you guys from the UF students from the past. All right, so there's your tunnel book pages ready to go. All right, thanks.